2019 was really an astonishing year for the club. It was seismic really in terms of the level of cricket. We're a 155-year-old institution that's got cricket in its blood and veins, and yet 2019 had more cricket than we've ever had. I think the number of match days we just had was well over 50, which is astonishing if you think a Premier League club might have 20 to 25. But the amount of cricket we had was incredible, and the quality was fantastic. From a normal season, we also had Cricket World Cup. We had more games than any other venue, which is a testament to the hard work at the club everybody puts in to put our club and venue at the forefront of UK cricket. And actually, with the semi-final going over 2 days, we actually ended up having 7 days of World Cup cricket, which was fantastic. Very tough for the team, but some of the moments, whether it was the West Indies New Zealand game, whether it was Owen Morgan's world record sixes against Afghanistan, whether it was the incredible catch in the semi-final, there are a number of things here that were amazing. And if that wasn't enough, we then followed up with an Ashes. And an Ashes, it's something that is incredibly important to the people of the Northwest. In 2013, there was a real buzz around the ground that it had been 8 years since the club had had an Ashes. It was then 6 years before we had another one, and this one didn't disappoint either. So 115,000 people. We actually had more people in the ground than any other venue in the UK for the Ashes series, which was fantastic. And although Steve Smith getting man of the match while he was here at Emirates Old Trafford wasn't the greatest experience for us, we did witness something very, very special in terms of that individual's talent, who I believe could go on to be as good as Bradman, which is some claim, but if you look at his statistics and his consistency, he's an incredible batsman. And to actually have somebody at the absolute pinnacle of their game playing here in an Ashes test to the absolute best of their ability was a sight to behold, and I think it was an experience that we were pleased to be part of. And England went on to draw the Ashes as well as winning a World Cup on home soil. 2019, that raises the bar to a level that is unlikely ever to be surpassed in terms of quality of cricket in the UK.
And just looking at the kind of, like you say, 115,000 people for the Ashes test, 6 sold-out World Cup games. It's been a long 10 years or so the club's been redeveloping the ground. It was almost geared up for this year. How great is it for you to see the ground looking as it was during those events?
Very much. I think the team are fantastic here. What we've achieved as a group over that 10-year period is astonishing in terms of a comeback and a recovery. 2009 was a very, very difficult year. The country as a whole was in the teeth of the worst recession in nearly 100 years. And Lancashire had its own challenges with the financial challenges that we were facing at that time, and also we had an international match that ended up being abandoned. So if everything that could go wrong, we really had a perfect storm. And I think if you'd have said then, this is where we would be as a club in 2019, I don't think many people would have believed you. But the one thing about Lancashire Cricket Club is it has resilience in its core. Everybody believes, everybody fights. We never make it easy for ourselves, but we're all very grounded and very unified, and this is very much 2019 is the epitome of a team result.
And just leading on from that is obviously another great year in Vitality Blast. The crowds that we had in here were far surpassed anything we managed to achieve before. Just again, reflect on that and the size of the Blast and how much that's been great for the club this year.
The Blast is incredibly important competition, not just for Lancashire, but for the whole of the health of that county game. It's something that really has had vitality this year. And if you go back to 2012, 2013, we were getting 2,000 to 3,000 people in for T20 matches. The product just didn't really resonate, and it was almost, we didn't really know how to communicate about that product. And the marketing team in particular have done an amazing job. It's taken us that 5, 6, 7 years to build that data set, to get people locally to think about, why don't you try this as an alternative for your leisure pound rather than the cinema or going bowling or what have you. And we've generated and grown a new local audience. And And for me to go from a 2,000 to 3,000 base up to peaks for non Roses games of over 15,000 is amazing. I mean, I think there's some championship football clubs that don't get 15,000 attendance, and so to put that in perspective, to come from almost a standing start to get to that point really was a fantastic achievement. And particularly with local residents, you know, we're a community here, and actually we've got a lot of people who live locally who've never been in the ground. And Trafford Live has been a great example over the past 2 years of where we've worked hand in hand with the local authority and worked really hard to outreach into those communities immediately surrounding the stadium to say, you're part of our family, so actually come and experience part of what we have. You know, cricket here isn't just for the wealthy or for the elitist or for people who love cricket, it's actually for the community as a whole, and I think Trafford Live over the last 2 years has demonstrated that massively.
As you mentioned, a lot of communities, a lot of kids and families coming in, and just tell us a little bit about how that helps to inspire the next generation and what the club is doing to actively follow up on that as well.
Well, I think it's really important because, you know, the future of the club, we've been going 155 years, but actually, you know, our membership base is ageing. You know, that's just a fact of life. You know, there's people like me of a certain age, and you know, cricket clubs won't survive if it's just people like me who like cricket. We have to get a lot of younger people. We have to be more diverse in our audience because it's about what happens next, and that's really important. And actually, particularly on our Sundays and Saturdays in Blast over the last couple of years, with how we've grown a new family audience, got more kids involved, who've absolutely loved it and got behind the Red Rose. You know, those are people who can be the next generation of supporters, but also potentially the next generation of players who can be inspired by an Alex Davis or a Liam Livingstone to actually think, do you know what? I'm a Lancashire lad and I want to play for Lancashire and I want to play for England. You know, look at Saki and Parky, you know, a couple of members of our all-conquering under-17s team who are now on the cusp of, you know, full England test debuts. It's a fantastic place for us to be as a club. It's something key part of our history, but that starts with engaging kids and families to come to cricket, and it's not something that us as a game have been particularly good at in recent years. I think Lancashire have got better at it over the last 2 or 3 years, but we've still got so much more to do. And one of the big things that I'm very focused on as kind of our next 10-year plan is how do we get cricket into every state school across Lancashire? That's a big ask, that's a very big ambition. But it's something that as we grow our resource base, that I want us to divert resources to thinking about how can we get a cricket experience into every school in Lancashire. It's not something that we can do overnight, but it's a 10-year plan to say on girls and boys, how do we do that? Because clubs are an incredibly important part of our network. We've got 331 league clubs across Lancashire, not including Cumbria and Cheshire. They're massively important for the health of the game. But if you're not in the cricket bubble, if you don't have a family member or a friend who's part of a club, it's difficult for you to know about that club. But if we can get a cricket experience into every school, then we can connect those local clubs as club hubs to those schools, and that's something that's really important for us going forward.